Well, this is Greg Taylor with Winona Radio, and I've got the pleasure today with talking with Bill Spitzer, who's one of the two candidates for Winona County Sheriff, along with retired Chief Deputy Ron Ganrud. How you doing today, Bill?
I'm doing great.
I'm doing well. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you're taking some time out to visit with us again. Now, the last time we talked, you were involved, I think, in a 5-person primary.
Yeah, it was a pretty heavy primary we had going there.
So we got a lot of people that went out back in August and decided that. So now it's between you and Ron Ganrud. And just tell people if they haven't been paying attention, because more people pay attention to this coming election than they maybe did in the summer primary if they're not used to voting then. So maybe just a brief bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. Basically, I've been a deputy sheriff for 24 and a half years. Before that, I was a policeman in the city of St. Charles. So I got about 30 years of experience working law enforcement. Also currently the mayor of St. Charles. Been the mayor of St. Charles for the last 10 years, so that's kind of given me that leadership experience. And I have to answer to about 3,700 people, so I got that experience of being an elected official, so that's going to be good for me. And also my community involvement. I am a strong believer in community. I think it's important that you're a part of as many community organizations as possible, member of the Sons of the American Legion, Catholic Church, and of course the Lions Club. So that's just a few of them that I'm involved in, and I think it's really important to do that. So that's just a little bit about myself. Of course, I do have a family, have a wife, 2 grown children, and a grandson.
You actually answered 3,701 persons.
Really?
Well, I'm assuming more. I know. No, that's maybe why I'm not married. Maybe anymore. Maybe that's why I did not listen to the extra one. But at any rate,
I always forget that. When people ask you, they say, "Okay, tell a little bit about yourself," and then I go, "Well, actually, she's been a part of myself for the last 30 years, so I guess I better say that."
That's a nice way to put that.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll make you an extra plate of brownies, or maybe me, maybe me, because maybe you can just pretend I somehow set that up for you.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like you've got a lot on your plate. So the person may wonder, why in the world do you want to be sheriff? Because it sounds like you're really busy and you've had some certainly experience. But what made you really decide that you wanted to run for sheriff?
I've been preparing my whole career to be the sheriff of Winona County, and it's a goal that I've set for myself. I set it early on in my police career, and I just kind of built a lot of the jobs that I've had over the last few years to build myself up to the position of sheriff. So, as a leader of a community, I figured that would give me the experience working with budgets and working with personnel. That would give me the experience to be the sheriff, and just being on the road and experiencing a number of different job titles at the sheriff's office. I was the DARE officer for 15 years, so I had a chance to work with our youth for a good portion of my career. And, just all the other jobs, training officer, crisis negotiator, all things that are kind of building me up to the culmination of being the sheriff.
Well, sounds good. We're talking to Bill Spitzer today, one of the two candidates for Winona County Sheriff, along with Ron Ganrud. What, if any, changes would you like to, if elected, would you like to see in the Sheriff's Department here in Winona County?
Well, I think I'd really like to see us change more toward a proactive type department. With my experience in crime prevention and drug prevention, I want to see a lot more community involvement. Community involvement meaning, presentations to help people protect themselves, talking to our youth to try to teach them, some of the skills that they need to resist drugs. Because as we know, drugs in our community lead to not just drug offenses, but other offenses, burglaries, thefts, assaults, things like that. So, if we can start attacking the problems when they're very, very small, that will help us out. So I'm more of a prevention type person, and I would change the focus of the department more of a proactive type thing, department versus reactive. Instead of just, a 911 call comes in, we respond, we take care of the problem, we fix it, we put a Band-Aid on it, and then we leave. Let's dig a little bit deeper. What is the cause of this problem? Because if we can actually fix the problem, then we don't have to keep going back to the same houses and dealing with the same people over and over again. So I think in the long run, it's going to be much more cost-effective for our citizens.
Well, the Winona County's got a nearly 4-decade-old law enforcement center and jail. Is that something you would like to address in the future? And if so, how do you think that could be paid for if that's something down the line?
Several years ago, the county of Winona had this as a hot topic issue of building a new jail. And at that point in time, everybody was very resistive of doing that. And at this point, we have a 100-bed facility to the north of us and to the south of us, brand new facilities that are sitting half empty. So, for us to actually build a new jail facility here, I'm not sure that would be the most cost-effective method of doing it. What I would propose doing is just trying to find ways that we can utilize their facilities and, some way to transport our prisoners back and forth so we don't have to build that brick and mortar jail facility. And I know that there's several different things that other counties are doing that are very innovative in getting those first appearances for those inmates that need to appear in court through teleconferencing and things like that. So exploring some of those methods of dealing with our inmates instead of building that new brick and mortar. You also said something about the law enforcement center. The law enforcement center is a facility that was built several years ago, and in my opinion, it's a very sound building. It just needs to be retrofitted to the 21st century, just like all buildings. I mean, it needs to, get those technological advancements. And, my strategy that I would use with that is basically taking my knowledge as a mayor and dealing with capital improvements. And by dealing with capital improvements, you're looking out 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, and trying to develop a strategy and a plan to update the facility. So that's kind of my plan there.
Okay, we're talking with Bill Spitzer today, one of the two candidates for Winona County Sheriff. We encourage people to get out there and vote, for heaven's sakes, on November 4th. One more thing we'd like to cover yet this afternoon, a response time for citizen calls and complaints, what it should be and what you'd like it to be. Do you see any improvements needed, or do you think the county's doing a pretty good job as it is?
As for response time, that's a very difficult problem for us to solve, just because of the massive area that we have in Winona County.
Right,
I mean, we have several hundred square miles that we're covering, and typically it's anywhere between 2 and 4 deputies that are working a shift. So just basically depending on where those deputies are will depend on your response time. There's times when I had a response time of less than 5 minutes, which is very uncommon for a county. But then again, I can remember some response times 30 minutes and 35 minutes if you're traveling from the Elba area down to the Dresbach area. So, it just kind of depends. One of the things strategies that Sheriff Brand has implemented was basically sectoring off the county, and very similar strategy that the city of Winona uses. And I would continue that strategy, and that does help response time a little bit. So, continuing some of those. And I think the other thing that would be very important to improve upon those sectors is actually develop community policing officers that are looking at issues, attending city council meetings, attending township meetings, attending fire department meetings, looking at what the issues are that are facing that particular area, and then actually problem solving them, figuring out what are some of the solutions to those problems.
Well, fair enough. We're about out of time today. We really appreciate your time. Bill Spitzer, candidate for Winona County Sheriff. We appreciate that. And good luck next month. November 4th will be here before you know it.
I know it, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks, and good luck.